get your hands up in the air and give him a big clap, a cheer and a whoop for Mr. Ranjan Bhattacharya. Cheers.
Okay, so we're going to talk about permitted development on steroids. I tell you, when I started doing commercial to residential conversions, I did it all the hard way. There was no PD at all. It was a pain in the butt. You had to go through 6 months minimum of planning, and it was hard work. It was hit and miss. You didn't know whether you would be given permission or not. And in 2013, because I did my first commercial to residential conversion on the Holloway Road in Islington in 2006, under full planning permission, making a flat in the back of a shop. Then in 2013, I couldn't believe it when we had PD rights, because what I was doing, which was so hard, suddenly became much easier. In 2021, I thought it was just heaven when they'd opened up the PD rights still further. But now we're just seeing it going on just mega steroids, quite frankly. And if you knew what it was like to try to convert commercial buildings to residential use, you'll get an idea of how sort of great this opportunity is. I'm going to talk about this white paper that Michael Gove has put out. It's likely to become law very early in the new year. And the reason is because it's got to happen. There ain't no building going on at the moment. New builders have virtually shut up shop because it's too risky for them. But if you think about it, and we've got a massive shortage of homes in the UK. If you think about it, enabling developers through a light touch planning regime to take pre-existing buildings, they're already there. Foundations, walls, windows, floors, roofs, it's already there. It's internal reconfiguration of existing defunct buildings. So if you can give people the right to just convert them into residential use, then of course that's going to bring on masses of new housing supply when new builders are shutting up shop. Who likes free stuff? Doesn't anyone like free stuff? Who likes free stuff? I mean, a lot of people want to know, okay, it's all very well, Ranjan, you've got all these PD rights, but where do you find opportunities of properties to convert to residential use? Would you like to go away with a list of more than 500 properties which are becoming defunct? Yes. I'm going to save the list because you guys ain't enthusiastic. Do you want this list of 500 properties? Andrew and I have put together a list of more than 500 banks which are shutting down up and down the UK. By 2028, I don't think there will be a high street bank branch left in the UK anymore, quite frankly. And this is a list of over 500 bank branches which are shutting down in the next 18 months. Those are defunct commercial properties. There's also all the betting shops. More than half of those are shutting down. And there's a whole bunch of department stores and loads of other things that are shutting down. But let's focus on banks for now. You want this list, it tells you where they are, the towns and all the rest of it, and you can make contacts with, you can find out who owns them, and basically that can be your first project. Banks represent phenomenal opportunities for conversion. Why? Because particularly the big four banks, the Lloyds and the NatWests and all of that, they occupied prime positions in high street parades. And those were the places where the local greengrocer and florist would bank their cash takings. So they had to give the impression that they were very secure. And one of the ways they did that is to give them lovely stone facades. So they look nice and they're in attractive pitches in high streets. And they make ideal buildings to convert to alternative uses. So get your phones out, scan that, and you can get our list of more than 500 banks which are shutting down in the next 18 months. There are plenty of videos on our YouTube channel on the permitted development rights that came in 2021. So I'm not going to talk about them. I'm going to refer you to YouTube, and I can send you some links later on of some of those videos to watch. But what I'm going to talk about is the rights which are coming next year. And this is the consultation process that Michael Gove has put out there, and it is all good stuff. What we need to do is understand why it's important to get on this stuff right now. to find out what sort of commercial buildings are shutting down in your area and what sort of buildings these rights can be applied to now. Because it's all about first mover advantage. The early bird catches the worm and all that jazz. Because when these rights come into force, vendors, agents, and auctioneers will not know what's going on for at least a year. They tend to know what's going on once it's done and dusted and someone down the road has done it. That's when it really hits home. So there's lots of first mover advantage. The other thing is that you've got to think of what the planners think about all of this and why permitted development rights even exist. They exist because the planning system in the UK is crap. It's unfit for purpose, it doesn't work. In fact, when you put in a planning application, you put it into the Development Control Department, not the Development Enablement Department. If they wanted to enable development, that's what it would be called, but it's not. So planners want to object to this stuff. They don't want this to happen. So that's why central government have said, here are a set of checklist criteria. If you tick all these boxes, you can take this commercial property and you will get permission to convert it to residential use, either fully or partially. So it's central government taking that power out of the jobs worths in the local planning departments who are looking to just control this sort of stuff. And you know what? It takes them time to figure out how to object to it. Now, when permitted development first comes in, like in 2013, in 2021, in the first year or two, it was great fun. Because really, the planners didn't have a Scooby-Doo how to object. Then they get a little bit more smarter, and they start to come up with little wordings in the legislation that they can come up with some spanner to put in your way. Because they don't actually want you to do this. So the time to get on board when a new PD right comes in is to look at the consultation paper, anticipate what's likely to come in, and start finding the opportunities to profit now, and get those ducks in a row. The other spanner they throw in the works is Article 4. Article 4 is when the local authority says, you know what, great, national government, you want this PD right, but it ain't happening in our backyard. We want to be exempt from a particular permitted development right. So they have to put in a case to the Secretary of State to justify why they want that exemption. And then, if the Secretary of State agrees, the local authority has to put everyone on 12 months' notice before it comes into force. So first mover advantage. You know, you can get in there in the first 18 months and have a lot of fun before it starts getting a little bit harder. So that's why you've got to make hay while the sun shines. Okay, so what are some of the exciting rights that are coming in? At the moment, you can take any Class E commercial building, which are offices and shops and gyms and GP surgeries, that kind of stuff, and you can convert up to 1,500 square meters of that floor space into residential use. They're talking about doubling this limit or abolishing it altogether. That's going to be phenomenal. At the moment, people have had to, if you get a large office block, then you can only convert the first 1,500 square meters to residential use. So you'd have to get planning permission for the rest. This change will be amazing. We have a vacancy test at the moment. So if you buy a commercial building, then it needs to be vacant for 3 months before you can apply for permission to convert it. Now, Michael Gove wants to do away with that vacancy test. So that will be very good too. Because there are a lot of buildings that are on sale at auctions today where there's a commercial tenant in occupation, but they're moving out in 3 months' time. So under today's rules, you would buy that building, you have to wait until they move out of the building, then wait 3 months for it to be vacant for 3 months before you can put in your permitted development application. That will be done away with. That means more buildings will come into play. Betting shops are now even a surefire bet than they used to be, payday loan shops, and also casinos and small amusement arcades. Before you could convert up to 150 square meters of these spaces into residential use. That limit in the white paper, they're talking about doubling it or abolishing it altogether. There was an issue with a 2-year time-stamped limit. So whatever commercial building there is that you want to convert, it needed to be in that use for 2 years prior, and then vacant for 3 months before you put in the application. That they're going to do away with. Conservation areas have been a massive issue because they have some rights at the moment to limit what you do on the ground floor of commercial buildings, shops and the like, in conservation areas. Now they're saying, as long as you don't change the external envelope, you're good to go. Now, the thing is that many commercial to residential projects, because building costs have gone up, it's slightly, the viability of doing a conversion in a low-value area because of the cost of building works is a little bit dicey. But then higher value areas tend to be mostly conservation areas. Now, you'll be good to go with conservation areas under the new proposals. This was the most Barney of the previous rules, the flats above shops. Under the previous rules, if I've got 4 floors above a shop, I can make 2 flats. If I've got 1 floor above a shop, I can make 2 flats. Now, that is going to be doubled to 4 flats. So, because this building here that I'm showing you, under the current rules, it's got 3 floors. You'd think 3 flats, but no. Under current rules, 1 of them would have to be duplex. But under new rules, you'd be able to do 3 flats above that particular shop, which is sort of better opportunities and profits out of multi-floor buildings above shops. And this is interesting. All the guest houses and hotels, there will be a prior approval process for the first time to convert these into residential flats. Now, when you think about it, out of all the commercial buildings that exist, warehouses, shops, banks, these guest houses and hotels are already buildings where people sleep in. I mean, arguably, there's some council offices where a lot of people are asleep, but these buildings are buildings where people actually sleep, and they're built for sleeping. So the conversion effort and therefore cost to make a full transition into self-contained flats are lesser than taking something like an industrial warehouse or an office built in the 60s. Another new exciting thing is a new usage class looking at for short-term and holiday lettings. And they're talking about being able to move to and from that C5 use. A big question mark, though, will be what about that for London and the 90-day rule and certain things that the mayor has put in. As well as commercial to residential conversion, they're going to introduce some rights which allow extensions to be made to existing commercial buildings. These can be really, really useful too. So you can extend a Class E building instead of now expanding it by 50% or 100 square meters, whichever is lesser. That will go up to 100% or 200 square meters. Similar rights for industrial and warehouse buildings. So if you've, there are many, I talk about commercial to residential conversion, but what I actually talk about is getting the best profit out of each square foot of space you have in a piece of real estate. Now that may be commercial, it may be residential. It may be on the ground floor, it stays commercial, but the upper floors are best residential. You have to decide for the area what the best optimum usage of that space is. So this gives you the option where commercial is a better outcome to extend that commercial floor space without the need for full planning permission. And of course, the reason we're excited about commercial conversion is that for a multitude of reasons, the difference in price between commercial and residential property is massive. It's currently 3 to 4 times, but that is increasing. And that's because commercial space is valued if there's a tenant paying a commercial rent on that space. And if there isn't a tenant, because we've got recession, and many businesses are becoming defunct because of the way businesses are done, like banks and betting shops and department stores and the like. So we've got the change of the way business is being done. Even offices, people that employ thousands of people do not need thousands of people to be in the office every day. So they need a fraction of the space they once did with flexible hybrid working. So the need for office or commercial space is reducing, and the recession means that businesses are fighting harder for a share of people's wallet in tough economic times. So things are shutting down for all sorts of reasons, and it's all supply and demand. That's why the price differential between commercial per square foot and residential per square foot is massive. And that gulf is going to increase during the course of 2024. And it's simple. You buy the commercial per square foot, you ideally buy empty, because empty commercial properties are even cheaper than vacant ones. You spend a bit of money converting it and getting the optimum use out of that floor space, which is residential. Residential property prices, I think, will fall. They will fall by about 10, 12%, most experts are saying, and I broadly agree with that. But that is nowhere near, that is nothing compared to what is going to happen or is already happening to commercial values per square foot. So I've talked about this on previously when I was commenting on the other slides, but massive oversupply, falling prices, basically, is the thing. I just wanted to share with you a couple of PDs, permitted developments, that were done in the first month after the last set of new permitted development rights came in. Because I said there's first mover advantage. And again, when rules came in July, on the 31st of July 2021, we'd already started identifying opportunities which can be converted using new rules. So, and again, what we found was you submit, this planning application, it was the first Class G application under the new rules that this council had. And they didn't even have a box for it on the website. They asked us to send in a check for the fee. I had to find my checkbook because I hadn't written one so who writes a check? So, this is the advantage of first mover advantage. And people looking at these applications don't fully understand what they're looking at. Now they understand all the nuances. Which application requires bin storage to be provided for and which application doesn't. How far those bins need to be away from the flats that you're creating. Does a flat need car parking or not? These are all nuances, and different PD applications have different rules which apply. But in the beginning, they really haven't got a clue. This is a property in Amersham. Again, this used to be the Conservative Parliamentary Office, and this might be an opportunity, actually. We should, Andrew, where's Andrew? We should do a new list. We got banks. We're going to do Conservative Parliamentary Offices, which are going to be vacant at the next election. We're going to compile that list. So there was an Amersham and Chesham by-election right in the middle of COVID, and it was the middle of the Matt Hancock scandal and all of that, and Amersham and Chesham went to the Lib Dems for the first time in 18 years. So they cleared out the Parliamentary Conservative Office. The owner got into a bit of a panic and ended up picking up this building. And simple PD this was a bit of a TARDIS in terms of it's much bigger than it looks from the outside. 4 one-bedroom flats, all under simple PD under those rules. And look out for Conservative Party constituency offices in 2024. But while you're waiting for 2024 and the parliamentary offices, you can definitely download this banks list. There are more than 500 sounds a nice round number, but there are more than 650 of these on that list. And all these bank branches are included, and they're shutting down in the next 18 months. So identify them, find out who owns them. Some people have just done some direct-to-vendor marketing, letter writing to the landlords who own them, and start having those conversations. Of course, I can see many of the people in the room have done the 8-week commercial property investing course that we do. It's the only one accredited by the Property Investors, Property Educators Accreditation Scheme. And I've been running commercial property training since 2003, actually. And what this is really focused on is all things commercial property, and in particular, commercial conversions and getting yourself ready for these new rules. So you can sign up for that. It's an 8-week online course. We give you all the content online, and then every week we do a group coaching call to kind of take you through your questions, and we do a bit of deal analysis as well, because I get you finding deals and analysing them. I'll give you the templates on how to analyse them, and we go through them. So you can find out more about that on our website. And that's it. There's so much opportunity in 2024 with these PD rights. And I urge you, if you're looking for a strategy to do, it is creating flats in the easiest possible way. And the great thing about PD is that you can be in and out of these deals in a year. It's 56 days to get the permission if you know what you're doing. And because the fabric of the building is already there, they're relatively quick to build out. And the best strategy, I mean, these work well for the buy, refurbish, refinance, and repeat type of strategy because of the built-in equity that you have in the deal when you take lowly valued commercial properties per square foot and convert them into residential. And I think in my last 30 years of investing, there are certain strategies that work that the stars just align for, and you just have to milk while the sun is out there. I'm mixing metaphors, but you know what I mean. You know, and have some fun with it, because these are the deals. When you come, if you miss out, right, and you come to networking events in 2028, 2029, they're going to be all telling you about these glory days from 2024 to 2027, where they've all had fun with these sort of deals. But they won't be possible in 2028 in the same way that they're possible now. That's what I'm leaving you with. Grab this opportunity. It's going to be a fun 2024.
The Baker Street Property Meet is the UK's largest and #1 property investors networking event. The property market is going through monumental change right now, and at Baker Street Property Meet we aim to keep you up to date with the latest tips and tricks and insider tactics to help you keep on top of your property investing game and succeed in these troubled economic times. The Baker Street Property Meet is fundamentally about networking, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And at Baker Street we aim to connect you with the people to make your property journey a monumental success. There's no better place to be to further your property investment journey than the Baker Street Property Meet. So make sure you're here, you're connecting with myself and Andrew Roberts, our expert guest speakers, and 300 passionate property people each and every month. See you at the next meet. Get your spot at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com.